Let's get reaction now from former White House OMB Director Russ Vought. Russ, always great to see you. I think Larry Summers is making a good point there. He's been very measured throughout this as it's been playing out and saying we need to get a grip on it or we're going to head into recession. And now we seem to be at the tipping point. It seems to me that the Fed has no other choice than to continue raising rates to try to do something. Some are saying, you know, better late than never. Others are saying we should have never been in this position in the first place.
Yeah, I agree, Jackie, and thanks for having me on. I mean, Larry Summers continues to be an interesting interview because he is saying the truth, and it's somewhat inconvenient to the Biden White House. But the reality is we're either in a recession, which I believe, or we're about to be headlong into one, particularly as the rates work itself through the economy, particularly as you have a lot of firms that are now adjusting to the fact that they are not getting incentives from the Fed to go chase yields and have zombie firms loaded up with debt, and those firms shed workers. Those are the kinds of things that we're not quite seeing yet with high unemployment, with the labor force staying put. But we're going to see that over the next weeks and months, and I think that's what Larry Summers is projecting.
I think you're absolutely right, and I keep pointing to that. I made the point in the previous hour as well, that essentially what happens is first the companies start to report drops in earnings. They're having problem with the profitability. The way that they manage that is they start to lay people off. So this 3.5 unemployment rate, it's not necessarily going to stay here. And actually, Jerome Powell, if I recall, broadcasted that essentially when he was in Jackson Hole. And he said the unemployment rate's going to have to go up here. That means Americans are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah, and that's the sad reality is these recessions are very painful, and some of that pain has not materialized to this point unless you're going and trying to find a home or your savings are depleted. And I think we've seen the ongoing effect of all the pandemic aid keeping balances and the households up, but that's going to change. And the White House has not changed their economic policies. They've just further made the Fed's job worse to make it so that they have to take more action to deal with things like the student loan cancellation. And so that's the reality. We all know it's coming. We all have lived over decades of seeing what happens in a recession, of the impact on American families and jobs.
Right.
And that's what's scary heading into the next year.
Russ, let me ask you a question. I mean, I don't think that Jerome Powell is inept and unable to do his job. Having said that, the Fed and the White House are supposed to be independent. Is it possible when Jerome Powell said that he thought things were transitory, that the inflation was transitory, that he didn't think the White House was going to push the gas so hard on spending?
Well, I've been very critical of Jerome Powell in the last several years, up until the moment where he really began to tackle inflation. And I do believe that they are trying hard to stay the course. I think they've looked at the 1970s lessons, and they don't want to have this herky-jerky stop and go and make it their job a lot harder in the months ahead. But I think the Fed was late to the game for some fundamental reasons, and that is they had the policymakers' consensus that inflation was never to be seen again based on the reality of the money supply. Mm-hmm. That's been shown to be false, and that's why they were late. But I am thankful that they are hard at work, and they don't seem to be yielding to those who would say that that they don't have work ahead of us. I wish they would be louder in criticizing the Biden administration's economic policies that are making their job worse. I mean, they should be out there on the student loans and saying that's ridiculous.
Russ Vought, thank you so much. Good to see you.